Well, on a day like yesterday, you had a guy that was dominating, and even in those moments, there's always a point in the race where you have a turning point. Yeah. We try to highlight that on Mondays in NASCAR America, where we really sit down and talk about it. Well, that happened when, in my eyes, when Chase Elliott, he took the lead from Brad Keselowski, and this was the beginning of Brad and his team having to do something different. You see Chase kind of changing his line, moving around, DJ, found a way to get around Keselowski.
Yeah, if you want to know what's the textbook way to make a pass at Martinsville, that was it by the 9 car and Chase Elliott right there. But this had not happened all day, and so finally we see something. Okay, what is going to happen from this point on? Is Brad going to be able to recover from this?
Yeah, a lot of speed right there from Chase Elliott. And I'm thinking right now that Chase Elliott, Martinsville, right? Like he's been so close. Oh, yeah. And then this happened. Always something happens, changes the game. Matt Tifft had a problem. Caution comes out, and now the pressure gets put on the pit crews. And who can get that track position? Who can make it happen when the pressure's high? You see early on pit road, and really the first pit box, Chase Elliott, the first guy on pit road. But way down on the other end, here comes Keselowski.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier. A great place to pit as far as the pit lines go. We see Keselowski down here. He's in pit 4 or 5 right along there. But he gets that launch. He's in a pretty good place on pit road, too. And every time, just that little bit, that half car length, the pit crew and Brad beats him on pit road.
And so here we go on the restart there. You see that put Brad in that preferred lane. And that front lane, you always want to be on the bottom. Chase Elliott with a good restart, but watch Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is not going to give Chase Elliott that spot. He wants that inside. Watch right here. Chase looks like he's clear. Kyle's, nope, I'm going to drive it in there and take this spot from you. This went on for several laps, and that made it even that much more difficult on Chase.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing as a driver at a place like Martinsville, in knowing that somebody like a Kyle Busch is ready to stick his nose in there. And you don't want to basically spin yourself out in a situation like that, because he knew how good a car he had. He just had passed Brad for the lead before they came in and had these pit stops. So you didn't want to take too much of a chance, but Kyle Busch made life a little bit more difficult for Chase Elliott in that respect at that point in time. But they would get together a little bit and have a little bit of fun and make for an entertaining race.
But I will say this. I thought Chase showed great patience.
Yeah.
Patience beyond his years, because he did know he had a good car. He'd get hung on the outside, and he would let Kyle roll in on the inside, but he would put himself in position to accelerate up off, and eventually cleared Kyle and took that position.
It was a great battle to watch. It was fun. And, we talked about that turning point being that pit stop. And Trent Sherry, one of the coaches at Penske, he had a chance to talk after the race about how proud he was of his guys.
Today was a great day. Guys did a really good job. All the guys, Hunter Masling, Jeremy Ogles, Braxton Brannon, Jake Seminar, Nick Hensley, all 5 guys were great. Came in 6 times, didn't come in first every time, but went out first every time. Towards the end, 9 was giving them a good run. Brad drove his butt off. The guys did a good job on the track, and we had an opportunity to come in second, go out first. The guys did a great job. So couldn't be prouder as a coach for these guys. They've done a good job all year. They were a great pit crew last year. It was the 2nd year we've had them together, and only good things to come for the rest of the season with these guys.
Well, he should be proud of his guys. Check this out right here. Enter the pits first, all but that one time, but every time left the pits in first. And you guys know, after been driven this racetrack as many times as y'all driven them, track position in Martinsville is king. And Brad was able to take advantage of it and do his job. But without that pit crew, we might be talking about a different winner today.
Yeah, and I think that when you have a dominant car like that, that just continues to add pressure throughout the day on the pit crew, because they know it's their job to put him back in that position. He has the car. If he can be out front every time, then they're going to have a hard time passing him. But just any kind of slip, you've got Kyle Busch, who's got a great pit crew, and the 9 team was doing a really good job with theirs, with that pit selection they had up the very beginning of pit road. So the pressure just kept mounting, but they were there to answer the call.
Surprisingly, Brad Keselowski never passed Chase Elliott on the racetrack in green flag conditions. Chase did pass Brad, but Brad, it was his crew that took him up to the front again. He never actually had to pass Chase, and he said later that was the best car. He thought Chase Elliott had the best car on the track that day. So it was impressive. I thought that Brad admitted, hey, my crew got me up front.
Yeah, I'm going to say, one time during the broadcast yesterday, just listening, the top 3 cars ran the exact same speed. Okay, if you're going to run the exact same speed as the guy that's 2 or 3 cars behind you, you better pass his butt on pit road, because that's the only place you're going to pass him. And that's why Every time we sit here on a Monday or we talk about it on a Sunday afternoon, that's why pit road is so important. That's why Friday qualifying is so important. We talk about qualifying. That's why all the little steps that lead up to race day are important, because where your pit selection is, what you do on pit road, transfers whether you make it to victory lane or not a lot of times.
It's a team sport.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Those pit crews, you know, I look at pit crew guys like field goal kickers.
Yeah.
You know, they sit on the sidelines and they wait and they wait and they wait for their moment. And then when it gets called and they don't execute, you're like, hey, what's wrong with you guys?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they make it look so easy. But you see the difference in time. I mean, you're talking about over a 15-second pit stop, a half of a second, making a difference in potentially winning the race or not. And they didn't have a bad stop. The nine guys did not have a bad stop. Just the two had an exceptional stop.
Remember when Joe Gibbs Racing used to have the best pit crews? And now all of a sudden it almost looks like it's transferring over to Penske. Yes. I mean, Joey Logano, a great pit crew all last year. Yeah. Now we see Brad Keselowski's team getting him out front to help him win this race. I think things are switching a little bit there as far as pit crews go.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point. And one thing I thought was impressive is, and you talked about, Chase was wise beyond his years. When he got behind, it was fun watching him try different things. What can I do? We have cars that are equal. What can I do as a race car driver to change my car, what I'm doing with my car that's the same as the guy in front of me, to run him down? And check out what Chase Elliott's doing. Look how high his entry is getting into the corner. Look at that.
Yeah, this was after he'd got back almost a second behind, and a second on a short track when you're making 20-second laps is a lot of car lengths there that he had gotten behind. But he had to wait and separate himself from the 18 car. He knew with the 18 right there, he couldn't try this. So he got a little separation there and then moved up to a line that we saw nobody else make work. But he almost made this work. He just needed a couple more laps to get to the back bumper. I don't know what would have happened then.
Yeah, Chase has become a well-rounded race car driver. Dale Jarrett and I sat and watched a Talladega race a couple of years ago when we both thought he had the fastest car and couldn't do anything with it because he didn't know what to do with it. Now you see Chase Elliott in a car, and a lot of guys who have won a lot of races wouldn't have changed their line and given up that opportunity to be on the bottom or run second. They wouldn't have moved up and said, well, if I run third or fourth or whatever, I'm going to try to make something happen. He's wise beyond his years right now.
That's the point. Yes. If you're watching at home, you've never driven a race car, to enter the corner that high at Martinsville, that's not conventional thinking right there. That's thinking out of the box, saying, I got to do something different. And if it doesn't work, so be it. What?
So
right?
Be it,
and that's the difference. That's Chase Elliott's confidence in saying, you know what, I'm going to pile this thing in here and hope it works. And if it doesn't work, maybe the 18 gets by me. Heck, maybe I slide up and get rubber on my tires and I go all the way back to fifth, but I'm here to win this race.
Yeah, exactly.
And that effort from him to try something different, I think it shows his maturity.
Yes.
But more importantly, I think it shows the confidence that he's gained in himself.
Yes.
Denny Hamlin before the race said, I think there's going to be traffic up in possibly the third group. This was before the race even started, and I scratched my head. I said, there's no way they're going to be up in the third group. But as you guys just pointed out, Chase was entering the turn so high that it almost looked like he missed the corners when he came in there.
Yeah, I thought at first that maybe he had. As I was watching the race yesterday and saw him start this, I just reverted back to a couple of years ago at Dover when he was winning the race, hadn't won a race in the Cup Series yet. And Kyle Busch ran him down because he stuck with what he was running, right on the bottom. Kyle Busch went to the top and ran him down and eventually made a pass. And so now we see this still young driver, but a very much more mature driver and willing and understanding. You said that confidence in his abilities to go up there and try something different that nobody else was able to do and almost made it work.
And listen, I think Brad, after Joey Logano winning the championship last year, his teammate, I just think you better watch out for Brad Keselowski. I mean, I think you see a more determined Brad, who was already extremely determined, a great race car driver. I think we're seeing early stage and early doses of what we're going to see all year long with Keselowski. He is going to be hard to beat the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think Brad got attitude after last year. I think really. I mean, it does matter. Listen. It is and we've all driven with teammates. It's easy to sit here on this team and look at that other team and say, well, he's beating me because he's got this car, or he's got that crew chief. But when the guy that's right next to you has the same equipment you have, who has the same opportunities you have, and he's kicking your butt week in and week out, you got to look in the mirror at yourself and say, what do I have to do? And I think Brad's confident enough in his ability. And he is a student of the game. He's watched, he's watched every race from last year to see what he did wrong, where they could be better, where that team could. And we know Paul Wolf is willing to step out and make a call and do some stuff. So they're the perfect combination. A little bit volatile sometimes, but at the same time, hard-headed enough to believe in what they're doing and go out and make it work.
It's hard enough when you get to that championship week after everything's over to say, gosh, we didn't win, and you're watching the champion get all the accolades. Yeah. When that's your teammate that does that, that's even more motivation to come out big.
He's only 35 years old. Brad's still hungry. Brad's got a lot more winning to do out.
Yeah. And his teammates are young, too.
Oh, yeah.
That matters, too. That whole Penske organization, they have enough talent. They have enough talent from a driver's standpoint to move success well into the future. Penske looks really, really strong right now, but also they look very strong into the future.
For sure.
Hey, NASCAR fans. Thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.